Alright, let's get some werewolves designed. I am gonna give everyone a couple minutes to hop in, because I imagine there'll be quite a few of you here interested in doing this with me. I've been looking forward to this. I wanted to start designing the werewolf for basically since we hit the stretch goal, I wanted to start working on it. So, definitely been looking forward to this. Hello everyone, welcome Spaz, Gabor, Aurora. Thank you all for joining. I'm gonna filibuster for a couple more minutes, just see if we get anyone else popping in before I get going here. Hello Playtest, thank you for popping in. Playtest I think is streaming tonight, right? Is it, let me see if I can remember the time. Laudem is also from Playtest Till It Breaks. Thanks for joining. Is it 7 Eastern? So you're here for about an hour and then you've got your own stream starting up? Feel free to plug that, drop a link. People go check them out. Some really good people over there. Oh, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Okay. Good. All right. Yeah, it is the Lycan class. So I did, hang on. I did some research earlier today. It was mainly taxonomy work, like looking at the difference between like canids and whatever hyenas are called. Hyenidae, I guess, is how you say that. We will definitely get into a little bit of moon lore. Yes, the goose with the teeth tongue. Corvin Doodley, thanks for joining. I went ahead and did a little bit of pre-work just because there is so much going on with the Lycanthrope in Ansera that I wouldn't have known where to begin this stream if I didn't sit down earlier today and just start a little mind mapping. So it's not quite concept to completion. We're starting a little after concept, and we're going to end before completion because writing a whole class takes several days. But we'll at least get like a nice draft outlined of a few different tracks. Chinchillid, is that okay? Chinchillas, sure. Where chinchilla? So for maybe this will change. I'm sure much of this will change before its final form. But for now, I'm only focused on mammals, so we don't have were sharks. Unfortunately, we don't have were geese. And a few days ago, Grant said in our Discord that I was probably going to draft something like 12 Lycanthrope subclasses, and he was going to have to talk me down to 5 or 6. I think that is highly accurate. I think that this is going to be, like, I was talking to my wife about all the different like types of lycanthropy that we might see here, and I was like, I mean, I'm already up to like a booklet, like a Legends of Mythcraft sized magazine, and she was like, well, why not just publish a werewolf magazine? And I was like, I don't think we can do that. I think it's gotta be like a normal class size. Were shark would be awesome, were geese would be awesome, but just for the sake of like sanity, I guess, we're sticking with let me remove lyrics from the playlist. My mistake. We are gonna stick with just mammals. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm assuming Grant is on the other end of the Homebrew Network D&D play podcasts. Well, I appreciate you making it here despite being down for the count right now. Well, I'm not going to promise a werewolf mag. I don't think that's going to happen, but I don't know. We'll see where the night goes. So I started a little mind map here. There are 3 basic categories that I that I was thinking about in consideration of werewolves. The first is the 5 moons of Ansera, which obviously poses a challenge for a class that is based on a curse linked with the moon. How does that work when there are 5 moons? The basic concept we came up with already, which you can see a little bit in the demo of Veil of the Eternal Night, is that there are 5 different flavors of curse that give your werewolf different different abilities based on which moon they are tied to. So in the demo, you see the Dimianus werewolf linked to the smallest and furthest away moon, which is like the ice moon, Hoth, if you will. I will make Star Wars references for the sake of brevity. And so a Dimianus werewolf might have icy fangs, frost-coated fur, resistance or immunity to cold damage, maybe vulnerability to fire damage, that kind of variation to a typical werewolf. And then moving from the outermost moon of Dimianus into the moons closer to Ansera, we've got Garvor, which is the largest of the moons. Looks the most like Earth's moon. It's got kind of that bleak, grayish-white desert sandscape, where polar bear would be amazing. I think that we can absolutely build that with this. Dimianus werewolf mixed with, where is it? Ursidae. We'll get there. Let me get through the moons. The Garvor moon, the moon Garvor is the largest of the moons. It looks like it looks like Earth's moon more or less. It does have breathable air. All but one of these moons do. But it doesn't have much on its surface in the way of habitation, but it's got these cave networks that have fungus and mushroom colonies and that kind of stuff in it. So people that live in Garvor would be in the dwarves would make sense. They'd be in kind of this subterranean culture. Next is Scarlin, which is a gas moon, so uninhabitable. At least with fantasy technology. Once we get to Bespin and Cloud City kind of technology and the sci-fi era, we may see some of that. I'm not going to say more there just for lore reasons, but at this point it's uninhabitable. Sylvan is basically the forest moon of Endor. It's a forest planet, or a forest moon. There's swamps on it. And lastly is Primor, which is Tatooine or Mustafar or Geonosis. It's desert, it's lava, it's open veins to the magma inside the moon. I like that, Trevor. A were-Hondu that turns into a cat beast. That's good. So those are the 5 moons. And based on which one you're linked with, there's a little bit of a twist on the lava, if it's the surface. Based on which moon you're linked with, based on your curse, that gives you a little bit of a twist on your abilities. I mentioned that with the Dimianus werewolf being kind of icy. Primor would be the inverse of that, right? You've got some heat powers, you might be vulnerable to cold damage. Sylvan is probably your most typical, traditional werewolf. You might have some primal magic in association with, the primal moon. And Scarlin, you might, kind of the idea, I haven't drafted this yet, but the idea that I had with, NPC werewolves that are linked to Scarlin is they have, the ethereal trait, so they can phase through walls and keep chasing you, so that would be particularly frightening. And then Garvor, maybe another more traditional werewolf, because it's kind of the most traditional moon-like moon that looks like our moon. So a Garvor werewolf would just be like your bigger, more ferocious, more hulking werewolf. Thanks for letting me know. I will drop the music down a little bit. Thank you. There we go. Now, obviously, all 5 of these, I think, should be incompatible. When you get a chance, let me know if the music level is better. I can keep adjusting it. These 5 moons would all be kind of incompatible because, like, if your curse is linked with one moon, you're not gonna also have a curse linked to a different moon. Maybe it should be like okay for you to multi-class, or not multi-class, but like multi-moon. But I think that's too complicated. So these are like incompatibilities that you would choose when you take the Lycanthrope class. So the Lycanthrope like entry feature might say something like choose a moon, choose a like for lack of I'm sorry, I'm getting thrown off by the music as well. I think it's just at a quiet point now. It should come back. So the golem, I think, was actually an interesting lineage to look at for the purpose of designing this. So let's take a peek at that. As a golem, you choose a primary material, and you choose what kind of magic you are constructed with. So you choose a source of magic, and you choose a primary material. So entering into the Lycanthrope class might look kind of like that. You choose what moon you're associated with, and you choose what like lineage bit you, basically. So are you like a canid? Are you like a traditional like wolf, or are you maybe a were-tiger or a were-bear? So those are kind of the options that we are looking at. Thank you, Solo Wolf, the Berserker Juggernaut, I believe. Glad you enjoy it. I think some of the options with the werewolf are going to look a little bit like that. Some are going to look a little bit like the ranger. So I've got the core rulebook pulled up here so we can look at some of those options too. All of these different, again, I was reading through some taxonomy earlier today to figure out all of these different potential mammal categories. I'm not sure how many of them we're going to keep. All of these I could group pretty easily into rodent, so that helps. Chiroptera, that's bat creatures. These are like, cervids are like deer and moose and things of that nature. Bovids are cows, bison. I think we can group those together. I think that those are close enough to be one thing. And Swede, those are pig folk. So, or pig animals. So the challenge that I see with this grouping of types of lycanthropy, yeah, there's a lot of good options here, right? Like, one could argue that. So I used to think that hyenas were just part of the canine family, and then someone in our Discord, I can't remember who, if you're here, please mention that it was you, said that hyenas are actually felines. And I was like, that doesn't sound right either. So I looked it up, and it turns out hyenas are their own thing. But they share characteristics with both canids and felids. They have retractable claws, but they have kind of the build of a canine. So I might remove the hyena from like the lineup and just say, if you're playing a were hyena, choose canid or felid and just go with that. Bear folk obviously is important. We've got all of these rodent creatures. I am gonna, and yeah, a werebat I thought would be really interesting in a vampire setting, right? Because you've got your vampire, you've got your full vampires, you've got your dhampir, and then you've got werebats, and those are entirely different because they're lycanthropes. And a note, I I'm keeping it because it's so well known, but I don't love the term lycanthrope because that means wolf person. Lycan literally means wolf. But what are you gonna do? Everyone knows, like, everyone in the TTRPG space knows what lycanthrope or lycanthropy means, so I suppose we'll keep it. Let's go ahead and group those. What do we want to call that? I guess, I don't know. We'll come up with better categorizations here in a little bit. And then the last type of consideration that I was bringing to the table, I'm excited for you to play a lycanthrope, yeah. You could, like, infiltrate a vampire lair and they'd think that you're one of them, and then you start, like, destroying them because of, like, the whole rock, paper, scissors dynamic. Invade them on a full moon. Anyway, third category is kind of your traditional class tracks. This is what you would see with any other class. So, I was thinking through these, and in a way, they're also like kind of a morality dynamic. Like you've got law, chaos, and good and evil, like as dichotomies. And so, with werewolf archetypes, I was thinking through these, there's hereditary lycanthropes, right? Your parents are lycanthropes, and so you're born into lycanthropy. There's the opposite of that, which is you were not born as a lycanthrope. You got bit and turned into a werewolf or a were creature. There's the lone wolf. You focus on your own. Maybe this is kind of like a ranger. Like you're good at boosting yourself. You're good at fighting large groups of enemies or single enemies, but just by yourself. And then the inverse of that would be the like pack alpha. Maybe you're a summoner. You bring like non-magical, or you summon wolves or dire wolves or whatever to fight alongside you. And then I was looking at some different tropes, and there's apparently one where like you get turned into a werewolf, not from being bitten, but because of a kind of a curse to pay penance for crimes that you committed. So I'm not sure if we'll end up using that or not. I think that the other four kind of cover it. At present, I wasn't planning on werebirds, but a were-raven or a were-crow would be really cool. A were-goose would be awesome. Maybe, what would it be? Like a cervid? No, cervid is, corvid. Corvid would be like a crow person. Hyliid, I think, is eagle person. And then I don't know what it would be for like a shark folk or a fish or a reptilian. Yeah, I don't know. This is still like an early ideation, so we may add in some kind of like were bird or were fish or were reptile. At the idea or at present, I want to just focus on mammalians and get something ideated. Thank you, Aurora. That's right. It's yeah, his name was Lycan, right? That was the Greek idea. It was Lycan, and he like chopped up his children and fed it to Zeus and like the other gods, right? And so he became the first lycanthrope as a punishment for that. I didn't make that connection, but yeah, that's right. It's yeah, it's the original like Lycan story. So maybe we will keep that. We'll leave it on there for now. So those are the ideas that we're working with. We've got to wrangle into shape here. We've got the 5 moons, the many types of mammalians, and the kind of traditional like class track tropes. That's thanks, Trevor. That's true. We can always expand on this later if we need to. Um, yeah, so it's tough trying to figure out how to balance all of this because this is effectively like what I almost want to do is say the moons replace um your profession, your bop. The mammalian that you choose replaces your lineage, and then you've got your class track based on like the kind of curse you have. But at the same time, I really like the idea of like a dwarf being bitten and turned into a werewolf, or a Ketic being bitten and turned into a bear, um, a a satyr turning into a goose, whatever it may be. Um, yeah, so I think I do want to structure it more like I have golems here, where you've got your magically constructed nature. So you pick a source of magic, which gives you some abilities. Like if you are from the divine source here, then you get access. You can learn this ability, Divine Glimmer. If you choose Psionic, you can choose this like essence alteration ability. So, yeah, exactly. I don't want to. I don't want to remove werewolves from the opportunity to have like professions. A werewolf barrister sounds amazing. A Klepin turning into a were version of itself. That's perfect. Exactly. So I don't want to get rid of that like that interplay. Um. So let's type out a possible class entry and just see where we go from there. And I'm gonna put were creature because that is a name that is neutral. It doesn't imply wolf. I believe the stereotypical werewolf and vampire weak weaknesses will be a part of the build. Yeah, I think they're going to be a little bit more. If you're familiar with the psyche talents that we're working on, they'll be a little bit more like that. They'll have kind of the min max playstyle. Werewolf wizard sounds awesome. Just be careful not to cast like Moonbeam in D&D. Might backfire on you. All right, let's see. You are cursed as a were creature of some kind. When you take this class, choose or make a choice from the following selections. Blanket disclaimer here. I meant to do this at the very top, but we haven't really gotten into like actual writing until now. If you make a suggestion in chat for like a talent idea or wording or any of that, I encourage that. That's awesome. But only please only do that if you don't mind if I actually take it and use it. Or if you really want me not to, just disclaim like in your chat comment that you want me not to use your idea. Jan, I do first. Hey, good to see you again. I appreciate you popping in on all of these streams. Second, to answer your question, I think that with these ideas up here of different like kinds of archetypes, the werewolf that is turned by being bitten wouldn't have control over when they transform. So it would be like a barbarian rage that they can't control, as opposed to a hereditary werewolf that would have a little bit more control, perhaps based on like they'd have a little bit more say in how and when they transform. So yeah, I want to try to represent both of those different playstyles. All right, you're cursed as a weird creature of some. Oh, and let's see, this is Mythcraft, so prerequisite. character level 2. Eligible for curse. Okay, make a selection from the following categories. 1, moon. Gain its entry talent. 2, were creature, or were species, I guess. Yeah, Julie, I mentioned that briefly in this stream as well. It might have been just before you popped in. But yeah, the different moons would have different kinds of abilities like that. Choose one of the species. Three curse. So I think this is going to be a chunky class no matter what. Certainly it's going to be a chunky class draft tonight. And then we'll see how much we can reasonably slim it down without, like, I don't want it to be massively bloated, but I also don't want to just remove really cool ideas. So it'll be kind of a difficult editorial process, like figuring out what good scenes aren't really necessary in a novel. Like, it's going to be that kind of excruciating, like, process, but we'll make it through. For tonight, I'm not worried about slimming down. For tonight, I'm worried about ideation and getting our ideas on paper. So that said, I think each of these different categories, you choose your moon, your were species, your curse, each of these are going to be permanent choices. Like, if you choose that you're linked with Sylvan, the, like, forest moon, then the other 4 moons are no longer available to you. They all are incompatible with one another. Likewise, all of the animal choices here are incompatible with one another. Likewise, the curses. Yeah, Trevor, I think thinking about the moons and, like, kryptonite and, like, the Superman kind of give and take there, I think that depends on the kind of curse that you have, and then if you're turned by a bite, then when it's a full moon, you're going to transform. You don't have a choice. It's just going to happen. But only when that particular moon that you're linked with is full. So, and, like, when it's a new moon, you might be completely safe. Yeah, Dante's Virgil, I think that's exactly the kind of build that we're going for here. So let's get these sorted real quick. Gonna make little tabs for these. Moon stack, species stack, and a curse stack. And now I'm going to spread these way out because each of these are going to have their own sets of tracks. I think just thinking through, like, the logistics of making such a large class, I think I want most of these to just be linear tracks that have, like, that probably don't have those like really powerful capstone abilities. Maybe a couple of them are menu, but I think menu tracks where they kind of spread. The examples of that would be like the cleric, where you choose your divine icon, and that gives you more choices. That's like a menu track. It's built kind of wide, not deep. And linear tracks are just the straight ones, like the soldier in. Hang on, we've got the core rulebook pulled up. Here we go. This would be a menu track. It looks like it's built tall, but each of these are available at like level 2, so they just kind of build out. It's a very wide track. And then the linear track would be like the Tome Wizard here, where it's just a straight shoot. So I think the moons are going to look like one of those. The lineage option, or the species, is going to look like one of those. I think moon is a straight shot, and lineage is like a menu. That kind of reflects the way lineages work in Mythcraft. There's another good example of a menu track, the Archmage here. And then the curse stacks, those are going to be the ones that have more like web options. Those are going to be the more intricate tracks. And those are going to be the ones that have the capstone abilities. Maybe the moons will have capstone abilities, but almost certainly the species ones won't, because those will just be like... I mean, you know, if you're a Canid, you're going to have abilities that look very similar to the Hondu lineage. Or to the wolf creature stat block. So that's why I've got the creature compendium pulled up here as well. Where Trash Panda, yeah. All right, let's see here. We've got Diminu's track. We've got the Garvor track. If you're joining after I started recording, I know, it like fades my face. I'm not sure why, because it's yellow, not green, but it's just close enough that it does it. It's a pineapple bubbly. Anyway, if you joined late, briefly, the Dimunus moon is the furthest away from Ansera. It's the smallest, and it's basically just like an ice rock. Garvor is the largest. I thought I removed that from the playlist. Why is it playing again? It's a fantastic song, but I'm trying to talk. Okay. The Garvor is the largest of the moons, and it looks like the most traditional like moon. It looks like our earthly moon, more or less. Scarlin is the gas moon. That's what I think Sean was, maybe Doodley was talking about earlier. Where wolves may be able to like phase through walls, that kind of thing, have that ethereal quality. And Sylvan is the forest moon / swamp moon, more your typical. It's linked with the Everwilds, which is kind of like the Feywild. So potentially someone on Ansera could find a portal to the Everwilds, and then find a portal from the Everwilds to Sylvan, and then they would be on the moon, or on one of the moons. And all of these moons except for Scarlin are potentially habitable, but currently Dimunus doesn't really have like any living population on it, just because it's so cold and nothing grows there. And then the last one is the one closest to Ansera is Primor. Okay, so each of these entry talents, usually a talent gives you a couple different things. I think each of these entry talents are going to be a little bit smaller, just because when you take the Were Creature entry talent, you get 3 different like mini talents, so they need to be shrunk down just a little bit. So yeah, Diminu's track. Just spitballing ideas here. So I'm not going to put numerical values on any of this. At least I don't intend to. I may get into the groove and just kind of start throwing numbers out. But I'm basically just like ideating concepts right now. I'm not worried about specific mechanical balance until down the road. That's too powerful for an entry talent. There we go. I feel like that's a fun, useful, reasonable utility power for ice adaptation. If I can make all of the moon entry abilities utility focused, that'll make it very easy for me to balance this, because, you know, a class usually has some balance of skill and utility and obviously combat. So I think all of the moons starting as like some kind of utility makes sense, and then moving on, we'll get into some of the combat stuff with the curses and with potentially with some of the lineage options or the like species that infected or afflicted you. Let's see. There's me in the numbers. Yeah, I want the moons to be reasonably minor. Yeah, I've got to remember this is 1/3 of a talent, not a whole talent. Scarlet track. This is the ethereal one. Now, what's the name of that? I don't play League of Legends, but there's a character that's like a were-polar bear with ice armor, right? I can't think of its name, but I have that like image in my head. Volibear. Okay. Yeah. That's him. Awesome. Okay, let's see. Primor and Sylvan. This is going to be kind of the inverse of Diminu's. Actually, let me just copy paste because that's almost exactly the same. Okay. Ice adapted, desert adapted. Hulking, we need Sylvan and Scarlin. I think for this one it's just going to be a skill point bonus. So that's usually +6. Usually you get like +6 skill points in something as a whole talent. So I'm going to reduce that a little bit. There'll be more interesting stuff later on, but for now. They could all be resistances. That's not a bad idea. Oh, thank you, thank you. Good catch, Sean. Yeah, I like that poison with Scarlin. Blunt makes sense, or like physical, but that's also really strong for an early level. Like any martial based one would just immediately take that. Yeah, this one is tricky because any like if it's physical damage, then immediately any martial character is gonna want it. If it's something like phasing through a door or like going under the crack of a door, like any number of times per day, even if it's like 1 or 2 times per day, like a rogue or any other sneaky character is gonna immediately want that. Um, Ooh, wait, I've got an idea. Um, because they're like a little bit more ethereal, what if they like say they ignore difficult terrain? That's that's a it's a benefit. It shows how they can kind of float, but it's not as strong of a benefit as like ignoring physical attacks or having them like slip through doorways. I'm gonna put that in for now, but like all of those ideas about physical resist and toxic resist, like those are, I think that that's correct for this track, just not for like the entry level of this track. Treats hazardous terrain as difficult terrain. See, I want to make it where they can just ignore it altogether eventually, but I'm a little hesitant to give them too much on like the very beginning. But Aurora, I'm with you on that kind of trajectory. And yeah, Pixelgeist, I agree. Some kind of teleport ability down the road. Certain number of times they can cast like warp step or what's the arcane one? Minor teleport, like abilities like that. Species is gonna be fun. Let's look back up here and see if we can whittle this down anymore. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's not as crazy as I was afraid it was gonna be. I think I'm just gonna remove hyenas and say if you want to be a hyena, just be a dog or a cat. Take your pick. What I'm not sure about though is your reptile folk, your bird folk, your fish folk, shark folk. For now, let's maybe add corvids because I think that's a really cool idea, like having a raven or a crow. But let's not add any. Actually, okay. Flavor, flavor your bat as a crow, and I think we're just gonna keep fewer options here. let's see. The Lycanthrope yearly add-on, that's right. Boil it down so it's not just, you're not just a canine, but are you like a jackal or a coyote or a timber wolf or a gray wolf or an albino wolf? Like, that's hilarious. Yearly add-on. The Chihuahua Gretchling, were-Gretchling, or Gretchling that is a were-Chihuahua. However that looks. Alright, we've got 6 to work with here. That's good. I'm happy with that. Let's just move this on down here. Get it out of the way. Pomeranian Gretchling. Perfect. Alright. Canine. Feline. Ursine. Porcine. Or porcine, I think is how that's pronounced. What else is there? Bovine. And I'm just going to lump your cervids in with bovine. Bovine, I think, is known better. Little ankle biter goblin chihuahua. Chiroterra. That name breaks the convention, but I don't know what else to call it. And are we missing one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are missing one. That's okay, that's 7, not 6. Alright. Last one is rodent. Chiroterra is your bat creatures. I want it officially to be like a bat creature, right? But flavor-wise, people could take that and do any kind of like bird creature with it. I'm not sure what other word to use other than Chiroterra to refer to like a bat-like creature. Ungulates. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I did take hyena off because hyena is basically like a cat dog or a dog cat. So if you're making a hyena, just choose either canine or feline and go with one or the other and flavor it as a hyena. Okay, talents or like entry stuff for the for all of these guys. Pteropodidae. I'm not sure how I would pronounce that, but I see what you're saying. Like, okay, it's flying fox family. I'm just gonna do that for now. I don't think that's a word, but small flying creatures. All right, let's see. We can do something combat related here. We can do something skill related here. I think this is just going to be more in the combat related direction, but it's not all necessarily going to be explicitly for combat, and we'll get to that part in the curse stack, which is also going to have the downsides of being a werewolf. All right, canine. Feline, ursine. Canine, I think, is going to be you gain tactical advantage from having allies around your target, even if you're not like specifically flanking them. Exactly. Pack mentality. That's a pretty small boost. So we'll make all of these kind of small start out boosts, and then we'll even it out with the final talent set. Feline. Feline gains a bonus to initiative rolls. They're like the ambush predators. Ursine. Oops. Ursine, I think, is maybe this one is like the pugilist. You gain that you gain the tough or the hardy talent, and your fortitude goes up. Maybe we'll see. That's already the name of something. Just a flat fortitude bonus, but it doesn't apply. That's a little bit weak, but again, I'm trying to keep it on par with these other ones that are a little bit... thank you. I like that better. Yeah, that's more descriptive. I like that too. I like the temp HP. Gonna add that as like a down the road ability. Or actually, Porcine is pretty similar. I think Porcine is gonna be the gain shield HP. So that's not a very big benefit because you're still dying, but it means that the next attack that hits you wouldn't contribute to your death points. So it's a little bit of a defensive ability there. Yeah. Boorish, that's what I was looking for. Ungulate, so deer folk, cow folk, sheep folk. Were sheep is hilarious. I think someone mentioned that earlier. I just registered why that's so funny. I like a ram ability for down the road. I really like this idea of them being able to graze. This raises this raises so many questions because, like, generally were creatures are thought to be carnivorous and to propagate through spreading their curse through biting. But if you're an ungulate, are you still are you a grazing animal, or are you a carnivorous animal, or are you an omnivore? I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna add an idea for ram attack, kind of like the satyr. Add that there. Terra Animalia, so crows, bats. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. It's the glide thing. When you fall, for every let's change that. Have DR damage reduction 5 X against, I'll stat that out later, against falling damage. And then make a note for like echolocation or something like that later. You raise a good point, Pixelgeist. Natural weapon attacks should be part of the core features. I may put that in the like curse structure. I think that's probably the move there, rather than building that in with. But it does make sense to build that in with each animal, right? You've got your claw as a cat, you've got your bite as a dog. Although a lot of pictures of werewolves depict them having big claws as well, which is not a wolf thing, but it's just kind of a part of the mythos, right? Let's get through the curses, and if it doesn't feel right to put there, then I'll go back and add it into these species like talents. And lastly, the rodentia. Skulker, sneaky, something to do with hiding, probably. Do any of these gain skill points? No. Closest would be the ambush predator. I think a bonus against reactive attacks. Yeah, a were-mountain goat thing could fit. The problem is trying to balance like the number of animals there are and boil them down into categories. So like that makes sense for mountain goat. It makes sense for a deer. It doesn't make as much sense for a moose. And so it's just trying to kind of weigh all of the different things that we're trying to represent here. But maybe that could be a talent down the road. These are all going to be kind of menu options as well to make room for that. All right, rodentia, what is that? We'll call it scurry. I think that's what the Kleppen starts with. All right, so we've got a start. We may come back and add a specific like unarmed attacks to these, but let's see if we can do that in the curse stack. Yeah, that's a good way to do it too, Pixelgeist. I may, like you said, I may end up putting that in the weird creature entry up here, just part of the base like talent that they get. Oh, that's really good too, Aurora. Actually, yeah, I like that a lot. So that could make you a tiny creature if you start out as a halfling and then you like shrink down into like a sewer rat. All right, and now we've got our curse stack. So the different tracks here are here we go. Hereditary. You are descended from lycanthropes that already exist. Bitten. I'll think of a cooler name later. Savaged, maybe. Pack Alpha, you summon other wolves to fight for your behalf. And that gets into another complicated issue. Like, if it's supposed to be you summon wolves, but you're a werebat, what happens at that point? Because, I don't know, it's, yeah, I like turned as well. That's a lot of things to try to balance. And the problem with doing, like, summon any beast level 1 or lower is I introduced a Reaper Bat to Veil of the Eternal Night, which is a level 0.5 monster. And it has an ability that lets you summon more and more and more and more and more Reaper Bats. Each bat can summon another bat. It's like the Chain of Methods from 5th edition. So if you're able to summon one of those, then you've got an entire flock of bats. And maybe that's fine because they all do 1 damage. That's just a lot to keep track of. So my response to pack alphas do not scientifically exist is twofold. One, I think the term alpha gets misused from all of the study and research that I've done around wolves, and I am not like a zoologist, so there are people out there who are by far and away more experts than me about wolves. But I love wolves. I've followed a lot of people that study wolves. My understanding of a wolf pack is that there are family units that that roughly follow like different. I mean, basically, it works like a body, the same way that like eyes and ears have different functions. There are different wolves that delegate themselves to different tasks, and so the like concept of the pack alpha, I think, was originally mischaracterized as kind of like a human alpha, right? Like the Chads of the world that like maybe they're like aggressive or ranging from like positive aggression to like being a bully, that scale. And then there's like betas, and like alpha and beta language in human discussion doesn't really like I try not to get involved with that, but like people may take that human approach to it and apply it to wolves, and I think that's completely wrong. But a pack alpha as like a pair, a mated pair, the oldest and most experienced male and female in an alpha or in a wolf pack, being the ones who like call kind of the collective shots. As far as I know, that does exist, and we can dig into research here a little bit if you think that doesn't. And then there's the beta pack who's just ready to take over and lead if they need to, but they're more interested in just helping kind of facilitate, and they don't mind letting the alpha pack lead. Yeah, so that's how I use the term alpha pack, but if there's different, more like updated terminology, then I'll find a way to work that in. But quickly, just using like the Greek letters, there's the alpha and beta pairs that do that. And then there's the omega, which is the my understanding of that is the wolf who is basically the class clown. They try to keep everyone light. They diffuse tension. Like when wolves go at it, like wolves are very good at fighting to resolve their issues without killing one another. They're far better at that than people. And so they'll get into a fight. They'll express their discontent with one another. They'll fight. They'll make up, and they'll move on. And the pack stays whole because of that. And it also stays whole because the omega wolf like hops in and basically serves as like kind of the comedic relief, lets everyone blow off steam, allows itself to be the butt of the joke. It's the goofer, right? It's the goodest of boys. And then there's other wolves in the middle. I don't know if there's like a Greek letter that was associated with them, but they're just like the typical, like they'll do the hunting or the gathering as needed, because wolves, I mean, they eat like berries and roots and stuff too. They're not just carnivorous. Anyway, that's a long tangent on wolf hierarchy. It sounds like that's roughly the same kind of knowledge set that you're working with, Jan. So I'll change it to pack leader. I'm fine with that, but as far as I know, that's like kind of how wolf culture works. All right, we've got the pack leader. We've got the I'll call it the lone wolf, and last one we've got the vengeful curse, or the original curse. All right, let's see what we might do with this. So, I'm going to need to spread these out more. These are going to be the kind of the meat of the class. That's true, Jan. I'm the alpha cow. All right, hereditary track. So you are cursed. You were born into your curse. So each of these talents are going to have some pros and some cons, like the psyche talents that we're working on for this game, reflecting the different strengths and weaknesses that come with these curses. So you were born into your curse. When you turn, you gain some kind of small benefit and some kind of small penalty. And you can turn a certain number of times per day that goes up during the full moon and down during the new moon. This is a lot of info. I'm rambling to try to figure out how to consolidate this. But you're able to pick how and when you turn. Let's try to write that all out. You're born into your curse. When you turn, gain +2 physical defenses, -1. Thank you, Pixel Gazed. Yeah. Basically a rage mechanic, but a little bit more give and take, and yeah, you're able to control it with the hereditary one. -1 mental defenses. You can turn at will. 2 per day, or 2 per rest, 4 per rest when your moon is full, 1 per rest when your moon is new. I'll get more in detail when I'm seriously figuring out how to draft this class, but it'll probably say something like, just you as the player get to pick your moon, obviously, but from a roleplay perspective, think about who and what your parentage is, and if you're descended from a pack of Scarlin wolves, then you're likely to have the Scarlin moon. But if you want to come up with a roleplay reason that you're linked to a different moon, then you can figure that out too. Dantis, I'm not adding detriments to all of these. So if you're the ice moon, the Diminuous moon, then you just gain resistance against cold damage, but you don't have a penalty against fire damage. Having pros and cons on all of these different tracks could be interesting, but that would also be like a lot to try to manage and figure out. So I'm only doing the pro con like trade off with the curses specifically. Contrasted with the hereditary track is the turned track. So this one, you were bitten or scratched and infected with your curse. Once in a blue moon kind of werewolves. Very nice. On a blue moon, ooh, or on an eclipse where one moon lines up with another moon. I don't know. There's a lot to think about there. Because there's not just solar and lunar eclipses. There's eclipses where moons eclipse one another, or where multiple moons eclipse the sun. There's different configurations of that with multiple moons. Okay, when you return, gain a much bigger bonus. Again, numbers are subject to change. Exactly, a blue moon. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, calendar and timekeeping in Ansera. In the real world, yes, a blue moon is the second full moon phase in a single month. In Veil of the Eternal Night, or in Ansera, it depends on, like, the month depends on which culture you're in. Especially before there's, like, kind of a global culture, right? Like, I'm not sure exactly how widespread the idea of a month or the idea of like tracking the cycle of the moon was in ancient times. I think fairly widespread. It makes sense. It's like kind of an obvious celestial body to track, but other people would certainly just track like the seasons and that kind of thing. So imagine how complicated it is with 5 moons. And let's say you live in Deshiriel. Maybe you only track the green moon, which is the forest moon, even if you're not aware of that, but that's just like what you do because that's your culture. But then in Aten, you see Scarlin, you see the gas moon, and it's like yellow, which you're in like a desert, so you associate with that, and so you track that for your month. And so is a with multiple moons to keep track of. If that determines your month, if the course of the phases of Garvor determines your month, and then there's 2 full moons in that time period in Garvor, then that's a blue moon for Garvor. But if there's 2 full moons for Scarlin within the month set out by Garvor, then that's a blue moon for Scarlin, but in Garvor's cycle. And then it spirals when you add all of the other moons. So, short answer, I don't know what a blue moon is in Ansera, or how you might go about tracking that. As for fair point, Aurora. Yep. Makes sense. Completely makes sense. And do moons change color, Dante's Virgil? No, I don't see why they would. I think that it would mainly be like the color predominantly seen on the planet. So, thank you, Aurora. So, the forest moon is going to be green. The ice moon is going to be kind of a bluish white. So no, they wouldn't change color. It's just like what's on the moon. all moons change to black once a year. If all moons align in like the new moon phase at one point, yeah, I don't know. Mystic curses. Let's get back to the lycanthrope specifically. You're bitten or scratched, and that's how you're infected. I'm developing a headache thinking about all of those moons. Give me a second. You gain additional... So this is more beneficial, right? You've got stronger attacks, but you've got a worse defense, a worse mental defense here. Now, you're not able to choose necessarily, at least from the outset, you're not able to choose when you turn. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to publish like a zine that's just astronomy in Ansera with charts of all of the different moons. I'm not gonna think more about the moons right now. We're on to the curses. We've moved on from the moons. We're on to the curses. This track is more reckless, exactly. You might turn. Yeah, so you take damage. You might Hulk out, right? You take damage, and you might respond to it by hulking out. Now, I do want you to be able to trigger this, right? So let's see. When you crit. I'm going to have to figure out exact parameters for all of this later, but you might track it like when the moon first rises, you immediately turn, or when you enter your first combat during a full moon, you immediately turn, some combination thereof. And this is the one that might be more... this is the one that might be more painful. There might be some damage that you take when you turn. Yeah, exactly. There'll be different ways to play with it. I wouldn't say this one is inherently better than Hereditary because you're not always able to choose when you turn. There may be days that go by where you don't take enough damage and you don't crit, and so you're just not able to turn. So there's more randomness there. Pack leader. How is this gonna work? Number of times per day or per rest. You can spend AP, not sure how much, to summon. Now I'm back to that conundrum. Should it be like... Well, let me ask you, how do all of you feel? I imagine all of you have played D&D in some capacity, or at least most of you have. How do you feel about the stat blocks that, like the Artificer stat blocks, or some of the stat blocks from Tasha's, that are, like, kind of generically written? That are, like, this creature's attack bonus is strength plus your proficiency. It deals, or it can use an ability where it regains health equal to, like, your proficiency bonus. Do you guys like that? Or, okay, so Pixel Guys likes that. I'd like to see kind of a popular vote kind of thing. Like, do you like that kind of stat block, or would you rather say, like, you summon a creature from the creature compendium, or a beast, a creature with the beast tag that's monster level 1 or less. So you can choose like a wolf or a bobcat or a black bear. Like, would you prefer those more specific kind of stat blocks? Okay, 2 for generic. My I'll keep listening as comments come in, but my counter or my hesitation, the other side is like there are several low level monsters that have really nice unique abilities like pack tactics or the bear just getting its like multi attack. But it does look like it's pretty overwhelmingly in favor of generic. All right, let's put that in for now. Subject to playtesting. Spend AP to summon a pack member. Generic stat block. Can modify down the road. Lone wolf. Now, my challenge here is not to just, or my challenge is to just not like take the ranger and remake the ranger. That's a good idea. I like that. Plus 1 unique feature. Lone wolf. I'm running into a challenge here, which is pack leader and lone wolf aren't curses. I think the prerequisite for pack leader and lone wolf is that you have 1 level of werewolf already. So you pick hereditary, or you were bitten, or you were cursed, and that's how you become a lycanthrope. And then you can choose these later on as other like abilities if you want to. I think that's the move there. Lone wolf, so they can be a little bit more powerful as well, because they're going to be their own like full talents. Gain some skill points. Maybe borrow from ranger or berserker abilities. Light overlap or similar effects. Gonna just move those down. They come in later. And the original curse. So you are turned because of a crime, some kind of crime against nature or against a god. Yeah, that's a good idea too, Aurora. I like that. When you fight a creature alone with pack tactics. Oh, with pack lead. Sure. But I think the pro and con play, I think, is mainly going to be the 3 curses. So you are cursed by a god or what kind of benefits can we give them that aren't just the turned or hereditary? I'm gonna have to think on that for a minute. while I do, I was thinking about the, like, downsides, the curses that you get. I'm thinking those are probably just going to be standard across all lycanthropes. So the big one is silver, obviously. Now, vulnerable 3 is a huge detriment. It means creatures can crit against you more easily. You take more damage when you... Pixelgeist, I like that a lot for a curse. That's a good idea. I'll play with that in a minute. You take more damage when you are hit with silver. Your armor rating is lower against creatures that attack you with silver. So that's a really serious penalty. I think those are the two curses, and there will be ways to reduce but not outright cancel them as you progress through the lycanthropy stack. Yeah, I like that a lot. You're always in the halfway form. The higher level you are, I think the higher level you are, you're going to be able to reduce the like silver penalty. But I mean, yeah, given how strong that is, I'd be willing to balance out some. Oh, the other thing we forgot is the natural weapon. So I think there's enough things here, and in playtesting, if we find that it's wildly unbalanced, that's what playtesting is for. So we'll be able to correct it. But yeah, let's go ahead and add that. Plus stir or dex to hit, to AP, to attack. Damage is 1d4 plus stir or dex. And no, 1d6, because you're a werewolf. It's a little bit stronger than being a lineage, and you've got the vulnerability to silver. So pretty nice spread there. Let's go back to the original curse. Penalty to charisma checks, except intimidating. Bonus to I mean, is this just kind of the skill-based one? Bonus to like survival. We've already got that with some of the lineage and moon stuff. Bonus to endurance, athletics. Bonus to other skills. Damage, yeah, good catch, good catch. Damage type, yeah, should be physical. It's based on species, but I'm gonna leave that up to the player. I'm not gonna. If they want to play a sheep that does sharp damage, more power to them. I just hope they come up with a good explanation, because I want to hear it. Excuse me. Movement bonus for the cursed one. That's a good idea for the D&D werewolf, but movement bonuses in Mythcraft I think are too substantial. Wrong pipe. At least too substantial for like an early level thing. Damage goes up, that could work. Crit range goes up, damage goes up. A lot of ideas there. We can play around with that. That's enough to get started on the tracks, though. So, setting all of that up, Primal and Occult Magic are going to come up in a minute, Gabor. Getting all of that set up took longer than I expected. Like, look at that. Over here is the Sovereign's Orb. I did this a few days ago. Let me actually move it a little bit further because we're going to spread out more. That's our Lycanthrope when you enter it at level 2. That's substantial. So I've got about 30 minutes left on the stream, and then I've got to pop off and eat dinner, and we've got other stuff going on tonight too, so be sure to check back, join our Discord. But in the next 30 minutes or so, let's just ideate what these tracks might look like. Basically just full on, like, no ideas are too crazy, brainstorming for ideas that they might get. So Diminuous track, Cold Breath Attack. Wait, hang on, let me just, for ease of editing later, I'm just going to do it this way. Ideas. Okay, here we go. Cold Breath Attack. Gain immunity to cold damage. What else? Gain immunity to cold environment stuff. Snow walking. That's great, that's great. Slow enemies. Icy gaze, like fear enemies. Conceal yourself in the cold. Yeah. Ice armor, that's great. Like Armor of Agathis, like some temp HP and it like blasts out on you. Freeze the area. Let me just put ice spells cast innately. Because a lot of what we're describing is basically that. Vulnerable to fire to get other abilities, I like that. Heat sense, that's great. That's really good. I like heat sense a lot. What else? There was another idea that I saw in there, or that I had that drifted. Icy paralytic gaze, concealed in the cold. What was it? Oh yeah. It was what one of you said. Ice damage claws. That's great. Recouping in the cold. The witch class has something like that, like the paganism track. Based on what environment you're in, you gain different kinds of bonuses. So this could offer kind of a limited version of that, like just based on what mood you are attuned to. All right, that's a great number of ideas there for Diminutus. So let's see for Garvor. Count as a size larger. Yeah, hibernate. That's really cool. Blizzard Aura, that would be from like ice spells, so I think we're covered there. Increased jump height, I love that. That makes a lot of sense with it being like our Garvor being the one most similar to our own moon, even though it has a breathable atmosphere and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's a really good idea. So counts as a size larger for grapples and whatnot. Increased jump height, increased damage. Like add your endurance to the damage that you do. Yeah, like you're a siege monster. That's great. Block, line of effect, protect allies. Yeah, some like warrior style things where you have like battlefield control. Oh, when you turn, you get bigger. That's something for sure, because like your curse gives you rules on how you turn or if you turn, and then these moons play in with effects for like how you turn. Engage enemies, which locks them down. It prevents them from like disengaging from you, which is really cool because with like being the largest moon, you've got the largest like kind of sense of gravity pulling creatures in and keeping them in place. Exactly, yeah. I'm small, I'm big. It's like the Ant-Man model. Yeah, I like temp HP. That's a really good one too. And that's also really good playtest. Increase. Yeah, we can put increased damage in a couple places. This would be a good one. Keep the ideas coming there if you want. We can do a few more. Like, Diminutus has a bunch. Probably not all of them are going to end up in the final talent, but we've got a lot to kind of pull from there. Garvor, same deal, but we can use a couple more. Scarlin, we had some ideas earlier that I want to put down. So we've got, excuse me, we've got, yeah, that makes sense to me too, Aurora. Same thing with toxic damage, ethereal trait, phase through walls, teleportation, fog cloud and the like, hold breath for long periods, better at not getting grappled, maybe doesn't need to be doesn't need to breathe at all. Some control over terrain. Ooh, sea and magical darkness. That I think let's put that with maybe Garvor. I don't know. I like that. I'm not sure exactly where that should end up. That might move around. That might be a Sylvan thing. Hover, fly abilities. Just imagine a werewolf is chasing you, and you run into a house, and you like close the door behind you, and it phases through the door, and so then you run away, and you like get your Aarakocra friend to grab you and start flying, and then the wolf just starts flying after you too. Yeah, let's put some sea and magical darkness stuff here too. Yeah, move when attacking. Incorporeal. Spells like Cloud Kill, Fog Cloud. What's a Stinking Cloud? All right, that's a nice portfolio there. We can definitely think of more ideas, but like the truth is that's probably about as many as I'm going to be able to write out in kind of a what do you call this? Like a linear track. Because, you know, you're going to start out hovering, and then you're going to move to gliding, and then you're going to move to flying, and so that itself is 3 talents. Yeah, I'll add a blur as an idea there, like that. Sylvan Track, maybe this one gives you access to the primal source. That might be more on the curse side. I think it should be more on the curse side, but I'm going to put it here just like as a note for ideation. I don't know why it moved. Skill points, kind of rangery stuff. Howl. I do like Howl as a generic ability, so I'd probably put that in like one of the curse tracks that you can access from any of the curses. Like the Lone Wolf and Pack kind of thing. Maybe Primal Source. Actually, maybe Primal Source just makes the most sense for the Sylvan track, because it's like linked with the Everwilds. And that gives it a lot of things you can do, similar to all of these other options. So maybe that's fine. If you've got more ideas, throw them out. If I have more ideas, I'll go back and add them. And yeah, exactly, Pixelgeist, and that's an ability that you get from the Primal Source. So that's kind of, I don't know, that makes a lot of sense to me. That's right. Yeah, I was thinking about Seeing in the Darkness for this one. Yeah, so maybe it's appropriate to just let that one be the Primal Source, the way you do that. And then for the desert one, I'm just going to grab the cold one and do kind of the inverse. So fog, cloud, sand, attack. Gain immunity to fire. Slow enemies, enrage, hasten allies. It's kind of the opposite of slowing an enemy down. Spore type aura. Oh, for this guy, yeah, I like that, maybe. Something there. Now this is fun. Pocket sand. A a desert adapted werewolf is kind of like a D&D hellhound, right? Because you can go up and you can do like the fire breath. So that could be really fun. Fire aura. All right, and I think we're basically good with that because, again, it's just kind of the opposite. Yeah, exactly. Underworld Cerberus. That's really cool, yeah. Cause some dehydration. Um, I like that. Added a couple more abilities there to that end. All right, now we're on to the species. Idea generation for canines. Oh, come on, if my control. There we go. Fire Shield. Fire Shield, is that that's a 5th edition spell, right? I think. Or actually there's a Fire Shield in both 5th edition and Mythcraft. Let's see. Pack, so we're on canine stuff. Pack mentality, stronger pack tactics abilities. Better at tracking, skill points, better perceiving, smell and hearing. These, we also don't need as many on these because my kind of my vision for how this class would look as a whole is like the moons look kind of like this track over my head, just like the linear line. The species tracks here are going to look more like this Archmage track. It's going to be like kind of a wide spread where like you get 5 or 6 oh my gosh, this is 5 or 6 abilities based on your like what lineage you pick. Yeah, the Hondu trait for maneuvering around your enemies, that kind of thing. So we don't need a ton here. It's not going to be the focus as much. It's like kind of the more flavor and background. And then these ones up here are more like what I imagine the curses looking like. They're going to be a little bit more intricate. They're going to have more options. So similarly, for the feline, skill point, I think all of these are going to have options for skill points. I think this is another one that's going to have like options to up your damage die. If you're already a Hondu, then you just become even more doggish. I don't know. What I would actually do, if that were my build, is I would just use my lineage features as a Hondu to get those abilities, and I wouldn't worry about taking talents that would give me the same thing. I would use my talents to focus on like developing my moon abilities or my class, like my curse abilities. Yeah, exactly what Aurora said. Um, all right, Ketic abilities in general. Check. Check some monsters for more ideas. Earth sign again. These are pretty easy because you can just kind of basically get two lineages this way. Maybe more defense, shield HP, jump bonus. Thank you. Perfect. Higher damage. Hulking. I've got to be careful about that because there's enough different hulking features, and they do have caps. They're like, you can't be larger than huge, but there's so many of these that like, if the cap wasn't in place, you could get up to being like Titan sized if you did the right kind of build. Urku abilities. Porcine. We don't have pig folk yet. Something we'll probably add at some point. More defense, more shield, HP, skill points, higher damage, cleave kind of abilities. That feels very piggish or boar-ish. Yeah, all of that kind of stuff. Ooh, that's fun. That's really cool. I'll have to figure out like the balance of that. Yeah, rush attack, good call. I'm gonna give the rush attack to the cat as well. There we go. Ungulate, we've got the ram attack. Better at recouping. Yeah, I'll change the name to like pounce and that more like stuff that's more appropriate to each animal once I get more into the kind of like deep actual drafting of the full class. All right, ram attack, better at recouping and catching your breath. We're onto the ungulates at this point. Let's see, what else? Jumping, stomping. Yeah, and because this is kind of a menu, you can pick and choose, like, yeah, climbing. Bonuses against falling prone. Yeah, good one. That's a good repertoire for the ungulate. Terranimally, terra, terranimally, terranimally. Nope, I can't say that word. It's not even a real word, so it doesn't matter. Terra animalia. Ideas for this: echolocation. Work your way up to having a fly speed. Mitigate all fall damage. Terra animalia. Thank you. Terra animalia. Terra animalia. Terra animalia. I got it. I got it. Thank you, Sean. Thank you. Immune. Yeah, glide is on a lower tier than fly, right? That's part of working your way up to it. Ooh, yeah, I like that. Like, light vampirism. Bite, attack, deals less damage than normal, but you heal. Yeah, I'm sure that's not going to be the final name. I don't really like that word that I made up. I'm going to have to come up with something else. Like winged things. That's a lot easier to say. And rodentia. That one I like so much better. That's easy to say. It's a real word. It makes sense. Avoid reactive attacks. Yeah, I've got echolocation there for okay. Yeah, good point. Echolocation, ignore blended. That'd be really cool. Get like the Daredevil abilities there. Maybe yeah, because like rats can squeeze wherever they can fit their head into. So yeah, something where they can like yeah, get really. I mean, I wrote that idea, chance to spread disease, but like all lycanthropes have that, so maybe that's something that'll be built in. I don't know. Survive longer on less food, sure. Sneaking, things like that. Oh, maybe a sneak attack. Make it an obvious pairing with the rogue, but that's okay. We can do multi-classes. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You think you're safe and it just screeches and then it finds you. That's really cool. Man, we've been going strong for 2 hours and we have scratched the surface. It's looking good, but it's got a long way to go. Path recall, that's really good. I like that. I'm gonna add that and then be done with the rodentia here. Okay. Hereditary track. We're back into the curses now. And like the more standard class tracks. Yeah, everyone, good job. You've come up with some really good like kind of brainstorm ideas here. Alright, here we go. Ideas for the hereditary track. You can improve what happens when you turn. Improve how often you can turn. Gain access to these other tracks down here. I mean, I really think that's pretty much it for the hereditary and the turned. It's kind of the same thing. It works differently. The turned is more swingy. It's like you get more bonuses and more penalties. Yeah, exactly. You might like get a higher like full-on strength and dexterity, but a lower intelligence and charisma when you're doing that. So yeah, there'll be different levels of turning and that kind of thing. But looking at this, I don't think those are actually going to be full class tracks. Those might be like 5 or 6 talents each, and then you get to go into the pack leader, lone wolf, like that kind of track. Let's do this real quick. And then for the original curse, well, actually, that's something all of them should probably get. This class is... I think it's going to be awesome when it's finally drafted. It's going to take a while before it like fully works out. Improving weapon attacks. I don't know. I really like the image of just like the the werewolf with the big like feline claws, even though it's a wolf. So let's see. We've got this idea. Any of them can turn into a full-on wolf or whatever, because you might not be a wolf. These ones can improve what happens when they get their like halfway turn. Pun definitely intended, let's be real. And then each of these can also go into the more traditional class track kind of things. Oh, and each of these should also be able to make the curse worse. Benefits become better. And then there's 2 other class tracks that someone in there reminded me we need to add. And that is the... primal animal track and the occult animal track. Gain access to the primal source. Or death in Puss in Boots. Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite like cartoon villains, easily, right? But what I would say to counter your counter is, in order to make that kind of concept, one, is Death a werewolf or is Death just a really creepy Hondu? 2, let's say Death is a werewolf. To get better at those weapon attacks, I'd say Death is a werewolf multi-classed with Ranger, maybe triple-classed Werewolf, Ranger, Rogue, and they use their Ranger and Rogue abilities to get better at the weapons. Gain access to the occult source. I think these would be incompatible. So if you want to do a casting lycanthrope, maybe there'll be a way to do that. We'll see. I think these should be incompatible. I see that. Yeah, Death being kind of like like Kyrus from Mythcraft the podcast. Yes. So let me grab the idea generation little token here. Ideas, bonus AP, like support, like holy support. Summon more underlings. Very, like, necromancer style. Summon things and boost them. I don't know what that word is. Samamamun? Anemone. There we go. Lone wolf, kind of the opposite. Maybe grant yourself reactive AP. I really like that idea of a Counter-Strike kind of playstyle. I think we'll probably see a Ranger class track or a Rogue class track that can do that too. I think that's a fun idea. Yeah, that's... well, I mean, classes can do that already anyway. Any AP that you save as reactive becomes normal again. I mean, within the limits, but yeah, there's something there. Something there to work with. Don't summon more underlings, more rangery, berserkery. And then the primal and occult source is just going to be pretty on the nose, like, oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, that's really strong, but as, like, an expendable ability, yeah, maybe so. Convert reactive AP, X reactive AP into 2X normal AP. Yeah, bonus TA when ambushing, that's good. Yeah, so we've got some good ideas there. Now, the other, like, kind of complicated feature with this is if you enter this curse stack and you pick hereditary or turned or original curse, once you've done that, you then also gain access to picking any of these. So, as a turned, you might become a pack leader or a lone wolf. As a hereditary, you might become a pack leader or a lone wolf or primal or occult caster. Alien versus Predator. Some of that. And then same with the original curse. So let's just do that. That's enough visually to represent what I'm going for there. Oh, not quite. Gotta get one more. Yeah, you're totally right. I realize that too. Lone. Yeah. I mean, you're called a lone wolf if you're that way as a person, but point taken. Because the lone wolf is very good for felines, which doesn't feel right. So, all right, we're a little bit over time. We've done an amazing outline of what this ridiculous class can look like. Let me enlarge that here. Maybe so. I might do a stream for the vampire class. I haven't been streaming very much this week. I've been taking a little bit of a slower week, kind of catching my breath. But I am going to be back doing a lot more streams next week. I might do a vampire class stream for one of them. I'll have to look and see what all we're doing. As for tonight, this is the basis for the werewolf class. No, you're totally right. Like the lone wolf or the lone survivor track goes very well with felines. Um, Thanks. I appreciate that, Aurora. I really appreciate you all hanging out with me. I am starving. I'm gonna go eat some food before our movie stream. Cody from the Homebrew Network is gonna be streaming a movie over on the Homebrew Network Discord. So discord.gg/the Homebrew Network to join us there. Um, I don't know what we're watching tonight. I think you'll be deciding in the next few minutes. Hungry like a wolf, exactly. So that's going to be happening at 9 Eastern, so in about 45 minutes. Anyway, just a quick recap. We've got our 5 moons and all of the different like linear track options you can get there. We've got all of our my brain. Wow. We've got all of our species options here. I'm fading. I think you can tell. And all of the different choices you can get from that. And then we've got this really weird but cool, complex kind of curse stack that leads into different wolf tracks with like magical options and non-magical options. And okay, awesome. In an hour playtest till it breaks, we'll be doing some combat playtesting live, so check them out as well. Take your pick. And yeah, that's amazing. So whatever the rest of your night holds, watch some movies with the Homebrew Network, watch some playtesting with Playtest Till It Breaks, and I wish all of you a happy night, a good weekend, and yeah, I will see you all next weekend. Have a good one, everyone.